What if the British Empire never ended? Imagine a world where the sun never set on the British Empire, where London remained the beating heart of global power, where nearly a quarter of humanity still lived under the Union Jack. What would our world look like today if the British Empire never ended? Would this be a utopia of progress, order, and shared prosperity, or an oppressive system that denied nations their identities? In this video, we explore an extraordinary alternate history, a timeline where the British Empire evolved, adapted, and held together into the 21st century. We'll discover how politics, culture, technology, and everyday life might have been transformed forever. This is What If the British Empire Never Ended? The foundation of an empire. The seeds of the British Empire were sown during the reign of Queen Elizabeth I. Driven by maritime ambition, explorers sailed west to the Americas and east around Africa. Trading posts became colonies. Colonies became dominions. Dominions became the empire. By the 19th century, Britain commanded global trade routes. The Royal Navy protected commerce. The Industrial Revolution supercharged British manufacturing. Tea, cotton, rubber, gold raw materials from across the world fed the factories of Manchester, Liverpool, and London. But with conquest came cruelty. Indigenous cultures were subjugated. Economies were restructured to serve the imperial core. Millions were drawn into a global system that promised civilization, but often delivered exploitation. Yet in this alternate timeline, something crucial happens. Britain recognizes that oppression fuels rebellion. Instead of clinging to hierarchy, the empire invests in reform, the pivotal turning point. In our reality, the world was exhausted. Britain. Debt and nationalism combined to shatter the empire. India gained independence in 1947, triggering the domino of decolonization. But here, in this alternate world, a series of reforms begins decades earlier. Imagine that in the early 20th century, the British Parliament grants colonies representation. Education systems are expanded. Economic development is prioritized. Colonial subjects see the empire not only as an occupier, but as an engine of opportunity. By the time the Great Depression strikes, the empire is better prepared. World War II still comes, but Britain emerges with less damage and more unity among its dominions. Instead of independence movements fracturing the empire, the idea of a Commonwealth federation emerges, a union of semi-autonomous nations bound by allegiance to the crown. The Indian National Congress negotiates a settlement to remain within a federal framework. African colonies receive local parliaments and fairer economic policies. Australia, Canada, and New Zealand help finance reconstruction. By 1960, what historians would have called decolonization instead becomes integration. The Imperial Federation imagine a vast imperial parliament in London, or perhaps in a purpose-built capital like Nairobi or Delhi, where delegates from India, Africa, the Caribbean, and the Pacific debate legislation. Every citizen is guaranteed representation. The monarch remains the symbolic head of state, but executive power is decentralized. English is the shared language of administration, but cultural expression is protected by law. This imperial federation becomes a unique global polity, part democracy, part monarchy, part federation. In this world, the phrase "the British Empire" no longer means domination. It means membership in the largest union on earth, geopolitics reimagined. By the late 20th century, this federation stretches across continents. Its population exceeds 2 billion people. The United States remains a rival superpower, but in this timeline, Washington faces a united imperial federation instead of dozens of new nations. Cold War politics take on a different flavor. India's nuclear program is developed under the Federation's umbrella. Africa benefits from coordinated investment rather than Cold War proxy wars. The Middle East remains entangled, but imperial infrastructure brings more stability. Instead of NATO and the European Union defining the West, the Imperial Federation becomes the economic and military counterweight to the Soviet bloc and later, China. Economy and infrastructure with pooled resources. The empire embarks on massive development projects. Transcontinental railways link Cape Town to Cairo. Pan-Indian bullet trains connect Kolkata, Mumbai, and Lahore. Internet infrastructure is standardized across the Federation by the 1990s. A shared currency, perhaps called the Imperial Pound, circulates from Canada to Kenya. Resource wealth is better distributed. Education rates soar. Health outcomes improve dramatically. Critics still argue this is just colonialism rebranded. but supporters claim it's proof that empire can evolve into genuine partnership. Culture and identity culture becomes a vibrant mosaic. In Delhi, cricket remains beloved, but so do Gaelic sports. In Lagos, Shakespeare shares theatre space with Yoruba dramas. In Jamaica, London grime music fuses with reggae. The English language remains the dominant medium, but literature flourishes in hundreds of languages, protected by imperial cultural policies. Education systems emphasize shared imperial history, sometimes glossing over darker chapters. Yet younger generations increasingly feel a hybrid identity, neither fully British nor entirely local, but something new. Conflicts and resistance. No empire avoids conflict. Even with reforms, not all regions accept federation. Ireland's independence movement remains fierce. Parts of the Middle East reject imperial rule. The federation uses both negotiation and force to maintain unity. Some historians in this timeline argue the imperial federation simply prolongs colonialism by other means. Yet others insist it's the first true global democracy. Daily life in 2025. So, what is life like in this world today? If you live in Kolkata, your passport bears the crest of the Imperial Federation. You vote in both local and imperial elections. Your currency is accepted across 5 continents. If you live in Birmingham, your neighbors include families from Lagos and Karachi, citizens of the same federation. The BBC broadcasts in dozens of languages. Education includes compulsory modules on imperial history, both achievements and atrocities. Trade agreements span the globe. Imperial universities dominate scientific research. British English remains the world's lingua franca. In many ways, it is a world more interconnected than our own. But debates about autonomy and identity still simmer. Technology and space with vast pooled resources. The empire accelerates technological progress. In 1969, the first imperial astronaut sets foot on the moon alongside the Americans. By the 21st century, the Federation develops a civilian space program, with launches from Australia and India. AI research emerges as a shared imperial priority. A continent-spanning grid of satellites delivers internet to even the most remote communities. Reflection. So, would this world be better? For many, the answer is yes. Higher literacy, better infrastructure, more stability. For others, no empire can ever truly be fair. Even a reformed one carries the legacy of conquest. Alternate history does not offer moral absolutes. It only asks us to imagine and to learn from the past we did inherit. Closing. What if the British Empire never ended? Perhaps it would have been the most ambitious political experiment in history. Federation of hundreds of nations, striving for common purpose. Or perhaps it would have been a gilded cage, delaying independence by generations. History is shaped by choices, and so is the future. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into alternate history, please like, subscribe, and tell us, would you want to live in this world?